Welcome to the Innovators, the podcast where we talk to the people building the future. In each episode, we sit down with technologists, founders, researchers, and engineers who are doing real, impactful work. They're applying technologies in ways that change how we live, work, and think. Whether it's breakthroughs in AI, climate tech, health systems, or digital infrastructure, this show is about the people turning ambitious ideas into working systems. No hype, just thoughtful conversations with the folks making it happen. Paulius Judickas. Now, IPXO is a IP leasing and management program, but it's not IP like intellectual. It's literally like IP addresses. So welcome, Paulius. This is fascinating. Judickas. He's with IPXO, which is a IP leasing system. IP as in IP addresses, not in intellectual property. Welcome, Paulius.
Hey, John. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So tell me a little about this. This is interesting.
Actually, you're not too far off of joking around about intellectual property with IP because, well, you'd be surprised how many times I had to talk with intellectual property lawyers whenever I'm digging into some enterprise IP addresses. But yeah, IPXO is a marketplace, what I like to call a player that levels the field for enterprises that were first in the game to get some IP before addresses, and those who are in dire need of those IPs right now.
A tranche of IP address, so they could go like IP address 192, 168, 01 or whatever. But somebody like Apple got 1 million of them, like IBM got them, but somebody who's into the market at 2000 doesn't have access to that, right?
Absolutely.
Is that generally
right.
it? Yeah.
Absolutely right. So I can tell you a bit, of a story on how it all became to what it is right now, and how we all got to this situation. So back in the day, whenever IANA was first established and IPv4 protocol was created, everyone thought that, hey, we have 4.3 billion IPv4 addresses. We don't even have this large of a population back in the day, back in the 80s. So everyone thought IP addresses are nearly infinite. No one even imagined that we will reach a point where we will scrape for those religiously. And, it was a free resource developed by academics. No one could ever expect that at, to 2020 or something, or 2026, those IP addresses will be worth millions. Now we have a weird situation where you were exactly right. Big enterprises, or simply those who were first in the game, first ones to ask for some IP addresses, still sits on huge pools, millions upon millions of IP addresses. While if, for example, you're a new hosting provider, telco, ISP, you have zero access to those. You basically have a single option two options: to buy them or to look for someone who could lease you some of their own IP addresses if they don't want to part with their own IP addresses. So that's how IPXO was born, and this is how the idea of it was crystallized in the first place. We recognized this shortage, the upcoming huge problem, good 10 years back. Back in the day, we used to run our hosting company, and we had our healthy pool of IP addresses of our own. And one day we decided to give it a shot and simply offer some of the IP addresses to lease to our, at that time, existing hosting customers. It turned out to be a huge demand. So we were out of IP addresses in just a couple of months. And we went back to the drawing board to figure out a model on how we could potentially onboard third-party IP addresses. And, by managing them, maintaining them, looking after them, especially whenever it comes to IP reputation, routing things, how we could deliver those IP addresses who are in need of them. So thus, this is how IPXO was born, and now we're the world's largest fully automated IP address marketplace. And not only marketplace, once we were happy and satisfied on what we've built with the marketplace side of things, we went deeper and started developing IP address. And this time I'm talking both protocols, IPv4 and IPv6, so IP management tools. So anything that goes into visibility, reputation, geolocation, we decided to bridge the gap that was needed. Not too many companies recognized it at that time. So we're in this healthy and good position to be first in the game, first in the market. There is competition. So throughout the history, so what I like to use as an analogy for IP addresses is real estate. So imagine, you have a limited of land, and you can only build so much on that land. we have exactly the same IP addresses. We only have those 4.3 billion IP addresses. And now imagine how many IoT devices we have connected, how many servers, AI endpoints, anything and everything is connected to the internet. No one even expected that each of us will carry 4 devices that's connected online at any given moment. Just like in real estate, there was always brokers who dealt with IP addresses. So on buying and selling side of things, there was always demand, supply, there was always companies looking to expand their inventories and whatnot. But we were the ones who brought IP leasing as, a legitimate business model into light. Because previously it was never illegal. It was never documented even. It was just some sort of a weird gray line where everyone thought that, hey, if you need some IP addresses, you just go out and buy some. What's the deal? Why would you lease those IP addresses? But just like in real estate, things shifted. We started running out of those IP real estate. Thus, the prices skyrocketed, and companies started recognizing that it makes a lot of sense for them to stay on OPEX finance model rather than CAPEX and simply lease IP addresses and pay for them like you would pay your utility bills, or, for example, for a hosting company, same monthly bills like they would pay for co-location, IP transit, you name it. So we have some competition. There are I don't want to call them copycats, obviously, but there are companies that are trying to build something like we have, but yeah, we don't feel threatened as of today.
Startup to do, right? To sell to get somebody who has something and partner. So you have to get all the people who have, and you have to get all the people who want the thing. How do you do that?
Yeah, and it's actually a very good question, and it actually goes a bit deeper than that. You constantly have to juggle these 2 pipelines, because if you'll have too much supply but not enough demand, the prices will drop to the floor, basically, and no one will make money. The enterprises who gave us their IP addresses will be making pennies. On the other side of things, if you have too little supply, too much demand, the prices will skyrocket, and those companies who are looking to lease will stop leasing. And again, IP holders won't be making any money. So we learned to juggle these 2 pipelines. So we're always, we try to be sensitive and think through on what we're doing, what sort of enterprises we're currently onboarding. We pre-plan on the IP address inflow, so we would always have a really healthy inventory. We're talking millions of free IP addresses at any given point, but not to the point where, there will be an abundance of those. And also, it's not that easy. You'd be surprised how hard it is to convince an all-time enterprise to, give us their IP addresses to lease out, because they have never heard about this before. Whenever you're offering money for the people that they never knew had any sort of value, it always sounds fishy. First, we had to prove ourselves, build our reputation and trust as a company, and only then, things started to get easier. And now, whenever we have a lot of big names on board, a lot of S&P 500 companies on board, business cases just validates our business. Well, our business is very international, I have to say. Lithuania is just obviously in Lithuania, all of the IT companies are at some point, or was at some point, our customers, because it's a small country. It's smaller than most of the cities. But it just so happened that our co-founders are both Lithuanians. So, throughout the history, Lithuania became our HQ, but in reality, we have entities in US, in UK, we're opening one in APAC region just to serve customers there. So the business is completely international, and actually most of our business from both sides, EZ and Lazor, comes from the US, because, this is where the internet is developed the fastest, and all of the novelties happens there. No. We're bootstrapped up to this day, and we're not looking into any sort of VC funding.
Well, right, because it's not like you have a widget. You just basically you connect those folks. How do you maintain customer service in a lot of the stuff that you guys made automated? How do you get a client? How do you keep a client happy?
Well, human touch, as cheesy as it sounds, but yeah, we believe in relationship building, strong believers in that. It's fully B2B business. So, in order to get any sort of deal made, first of all, you have to trust the other party. So that's what we're all about. We travel a lot to our customers, to all of conferences, expos, and whatnot. A lot of our existing or potential customers just simply gets to meet us face to face. We get to sit down, discuss things, pre-plan, with the economic business cases if needed. So it's always an ongoing compounding trust, I think.
Is there a problem that still needs to be solved? If there's somebody out there who has is there a problem that you guys see that still needs to be solved?
Absolutely. So I wouldn't call it a problem, but I would call it, just a setting that we have currently. We keep on talking about, running off IPv4 space. Then we have IPv6. You've definitely heard about it. You heard about it as well. And we keep on hearing about this magical migration that's happening for the last 27 years. And it's still, at 40-something, 48% globally, while it's being led by mostly mobile telco providers. We still see the backbone of the internet running on IPv4. Again, it's not an issue, but a weird setting that we have right now. It's like we have two sides clashing. We have strong believers in IPv6 only that are preaching, the need to ditch IPv4 protocol and rewrite the internet as it was built up before. And we have those who actually deals it with IPv4 addresses day to day. Those who sees that, it's barely possible, not for another 10 or 20 years, because the internet, the whole core of the internet just sits on IPv4 protocol. And then we have this big, this symmetry where you have companies that don't even use IPv4 addresses sitting on tens and tens of millions of those. And then you have your IT startups, you have your AI startups, hosting companies, regional telcos, regional ISPs, who at best could get some IP addresses like /24. That's 256 IP addresses from the registry of internet resources. But again, they would have to wait in the waiting list for 2 years just to get their hands on 200 IP addresses. So we have this huge disbalance, those who have it but don't really use it or need it, and those who are in dire need for their daily operations or just to start up their business, but don't have any access to it unless they're willing to dish out a few $1 million day one of their business. So, by doing what we're doing with IPXO, we're trying to somehow level that playing field, at least.
Is it only to the ID folks? Do you have to talk to the CEO a lot? What's the pitch here, right?
It depends on, which side you're trying to sell. So if you're talking with someone who's looking to lease, you're most often talking to someone who works hands-on with their network. So your network architects, network engineers, CTOs, it could be procurement, obviously, if they know what they're looking for. On the supply side of things, the story is a bit different. We need to talk with pretty much anyone because I am yet to have two companies onboarded that I spoke to the same title of a person. Same titles in those, because with ones you're talking with CEOs, CFOs, because you will generate them a lot of revenue out of something they never knew existed as a revenue stream in their books. With others, you're talking, like I've mentioned, IP legal team, because, historically, someone decided that IPv4 sounds like IP and we already have an IP department, so they should be taking care of it. So yeah, but it's a huge pool of different titles we need to talk with.
Somebody else who can
Absolutely.
talk to the CEO, something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What's next for the company?
We're building some interesting tools, again, expanding our offering. We're looking mostly, and it might sound cliche and buzzword as like every company these days, we're looking into introducing new solutions to AI companies, and not those small startups that uses some of the existing engines, but those who are looking to gather a lot of data, who needs to dig through the internet for data. So our next big thing that we will introduce will be a solution for your well-known AI engines and giants. I don't want to spoil too much.
It's almost like the AI is going to start requesting like IP addresses, but if it needs it on the fly, that might be an interesting solution.
It already does, and we already see an inflow of requests from AI companies, because obviously like we both mentioned, AI agent connects to the internet like any other device. Every AI endpoint needs to have an active connection to the internet. So that means the demand for IP addresses will only grow. And not too many people and not too many companies have understood it by now yet. But yeah, it will change the landscape a lot.
Well, the website is, which actually sounds like a lot of fun, and you can buy you can buy and sell them, which is
Lease and rent.
right. Lease, yeah.
We're huge advocates on keeping the ownership because, come on, that's a scarce and finite resource. It's same as selling something you won't be able to reproduce.
I don't know, a lump of gold,
Or
which is pretty
again,
fascinating.
let's go back to real estate. I'm telling you, it's exactly the same analogy. And whenever we ran off of IP addresses, imagine it being the same as city, declining all of the building permits. Thanks, John.
This has been the Innovators.